Let's see what happens here. That's before he does hit it. Hits it well! Oh, what a goal! Oh, what a goal! From Stephen Defoe! It's a free kick to die for! Oh, top!
Hello everyone, it's MadCloud94 here, bringing you the long-awaited return of LTF, and I'm joined as usual by a very festive-looking JB Claret over there, John Stoddard, the legendary football commentator of YouTube. How's it going, John?
Good evening, Chris. Good evening, everybody. Yes, well, you could call me Centre John Boy, really, but yeah. I'm very well, thank you. I've also been carrying top weight at the moment as well, along with the day job and the YouTube commentaries and stuff. I'm in the business of selling my good friend Karen. So I've been keeping busy myself, as well as keeping track of Burnley's relentless progress and charge towards Champions League football.
Yes, that has been something that we haven't been able to document whilst we've been away. It's mainly been my fault we've been away. I'll say that now because of... I've been studying in college, and the day that we normally record LTF on a Thursday is the day that I'm actually at college, and I do it in the evening. So that's why it's been away. So I don't know when it will return full time, as it was previous. I say full time. It was weekly, but for now we have some free time in the Christmas period. So we thought we'd address what's been going on this season. So. I would say we're better to start than Burnley, or Proudsville as it was recently called, thanks to Sean Dyche. But you've got a bit of a bone to pick for starters. We'll start off right. We'll get rid of the negative stuff out of the way straight away, which is obviously James Tarkowski has been a very naughty boy, according to the FA.
Well, I don't know. I think I've made a bit of a drama out of the crisis. And I'll tell you why. I commentated on the game. A lot of our regular viewers listen to me again on the YouTube channel, my one, when I do the commentaries. And I did the game last week, and I thought Glenn Murray was looking for any decision he could get his hands on. I mean, the penalty he got was one of the most cheapest decisions. It was up there with the Ramsey incident a few weeks prior with the Arsenal game, which I'll touch on in a moment. But Glenn Murray, I think he made a meal of it. I mean, Tarks has leaned into him a bit. There's no doubt about that. I mean, but I don't think there's any malice in it at all. And let's not forget, Tarks had to have stitches put into his arm. When Murray injured that's not been documented as well. So I feel as if Murray's got away scot-free, and Tarkowski's been punished on the view of television evidence. Tarkowski's obviously leaned into him. He may have used the look, he may have had a big help, but it wasn't malicious, I didn't think. And you know, he's milked it for all his worth, Murray. It's gone down as if he's been shot by Lee Harvey Oswald, and he's rolling about, and he's up in about 10 seconds. And then and there's the other part of my gripe. You've got people like Harry Kane and Dele Alli in the Manchester City game. 2 leg-breaking challenges they committed. Why weren't they punished on the view of television evidence? I just think it's one rule for one and another for another, Chris. And I'm very disappointed, I think, with the FA. And we know what the FA stands for. And it's not the Football Association, quite frankly.
Well, there was a lot of talk, particularly with Sean Dyche and a lot of press conferences about how obviously bigger teams, does it look like that they get favoured more by the referees? From what we've seen, yes. I mean...
The Arsenal example, really.
The Arsenal one was a good example. You know, you can't have a big team not get a result against little old Burnley. You know, it's obscene. Then there was the whole a lot of this I saw on the BBC forums. A lot of people were talking about how Lukaku was aiming kicks at people, and apparently that's not violent conduct. And you know, as you mentioned, Kane and Dele Alli, both with ridiculous challenges. They'll both be playing at the turf. Whether you know, if they both get a goal or contribute to something, then we'll all be sitting there going, oh, well, you know, violent contact. We can't have our best defender, but you can nearly break somebody's leg, and that's not fine. But that's perfectly fine. But I think it's fair to say the bigger clubs do get those decisions because they're the ones that bring all the viewership in, the money in, the sponsors. You know, they're the ones that make Sky and all that, the most money, so they're obviously going to get favoured. Now, what was the other gripe you had on the topic of
the
gripes?
Arsenal game?
Oh,
the Arsenal.
well, yes.
The standard of refereeing, especially at Turf Moor. The
Watford game as well was pretty shocking as well, but we got away with that one.
I was there, but I have to say, Probert did get one big decision right, and that was the red card for their player who absolutely took out the ball, and I was 20 yards away from the incident. Excuse me, because I was there at the time. But going back to the Arsenal game, I've never seen such a poor refereeing display. I mean, I mentioned in commentary that Lee Mason should be up for investigation for match fixing, because it looked, I have to say, I've commentated on over 75 games on the YouTube channel, including the European Championships of 2 years ago. And I don't think in all those games I've commentated, and I'm now coming up towards 100 live games on the live matches I've done on the channel. And in all that time, I don't think I've commentated. It's unbelievably poor. Failure to give a clear penalty for Burnley in the first half, for a clear handball by Alexis Sanchez. I felt that was a penalty because it strikes his arm quite categorically and clearly in the penalty box.
Arsenal don't handball. They just don't.
Well, apparently not. But the camera never lies, Chris. And then we should have had several free kicks. Bjornberg Gudmundsson was taken from behind, but the referee played on wrongly. That led to a chance for Ramsey, which he put wide in the end. I think it might have been Wiltshire, actually. And I actually called the commentary wrong because I was so incensed by the decision. I thought it was Jack Wiltshire who was fouled. It turned out it was Aaron Ramsey. And I was so incensed by it because when you see the ball headed back, Ramsey's on his way. He's diving before Tarkowski even touches him.
Yeah.
This is my big beef. This is my big gripe. And the referee has seen contact, obviously. Okay, Tarkowski shouldn't have tried to lay any hands on him in any case, but, I'm not condoning what he might have done, but I just felt the decision was one of the worst decisions I have ever seen.
It was a magnificent swan dive, I'll give him that. He did the whole arms out and everything. It was
the sort of dive that Tom Daly would have been proud of. Let's be fair. I will say one thing. Nick Pope was very, very close to saving it, and it would have been justice if he'd have saved it, because I thought we were the better team in the second half, especially because we took the game to Arsenal. It's 3 times now. The frustration is that it's 3 times now we've lost on controversial decisions of the same opposition in the last 3 games. We had the handball last year with Koscielny. Then he dived to win a penalty at the Emirates earlier on this year.
Well,
to
be specific, he jumped into a defender's foot and got himself a penalty for it. So whether you want to call that a dive or
it's
not,
still a blatant piece of cheating, though, isn't it? Well, and then the Ramsey controversy. We don't play him again now till I think it's early May. I think we go to the Emirates, and I think if we could get something there, get a result there, that would sort of.
If the season continues to go the way it's gone, that'll be a dead rubber match. So we'd have no pressure on us.
Yeah, but we'll be up.
There wouldn't be any bearing on it as such, but it would just be pride at stake.
But wouldn't you think after those 3 injustices, we'd do something against them?
Well, yeah, but I'm surrounded by gooners down here all the time anyway, so I get enough stick from them as it is. So, but the thing is, we have this situation a lot. We dust ourselves down after various controversies and everything that are against us. We dust ourselves out, get up and get on with it. The rest of them, if it happens to them, if the shoe's on the other foot, they'll harp on about it for bloody ages until the next time they play us, and they'll be like, ha ha, yeah. It was just like, well, okay. That's what we'll be like. 9 times out of 10, I sit there and whenever something goes wrong for Arsenal, I'm sitting there like, oh, my heart bleeds for them. It really does. Oh, they've conceded 3 goals against Liverpool tonight. Oh, what a shame. I'm amazed that game finished 3-3. The game has just finished to us live. Arsenal-Liverpool 3-3. Mental game.
Yeah, some game.
I don't have any sympathy for them, and I think I do in a sense, right? I'll lay into this whole Arsene Wenger thing. I'm very much as I'm a Burnley fan, I'm very much in the mind that I think Arsene Wenger's time at Arsenal is up. I think he should walk away at the end of the season because he's kind of stagnating there, and the legacy that he has is at risk of being poisoned. You know, it's one of those where it would be a bit like, it's not similar but similar in a sense, a bit like the way Owen Coyle left Burnley. You know, left in a negative fashion. You know, if Arsenal left in the sense that Arsenal didn't win anything, you know, they missed out on the top 4, the fans were on his back hounding him out, that would be a sad way for it to end, because it would tarnish the legacy as such.
Oh, of course.
But, the same way that Owen Coyle's way was tarnished. You know, he could have been the club's greatest manager pre-Sean Dyche, in sense of what he achieved with a squad of, you know, aging average with
journeyman, really. We had a lot of journeyman
good pieces, you know, but it was just the way how he just up sticks and left despite insisting that he wasn't going to. You know, the Arsene Wenger scenario is just a case of he's staying too long, he's clinging on to it just a little bit too long, and you know.
Chris, can I just flip it? Can I flip it the other side? I mean, he's just reached the semi-final of a cup competition. I mean, he's in line possibly. I mean, depending how they go on against Chelsea, they've got a big chance to win the Carabao competition, haven't they? And it's a trophy he's never won, and it would be nice for him to complete the domestic set, wouldn't it?
That would give even more reason for him to walk away at the end of the season. Finish with a trophy. Just be like, I've done what I can. This whole Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil thing is getting out of hand, and he clearly doesn't have a grasp of it. You know, the Arsenal team is not going to be that good next year. It's not going to be as good as this current team, as much as Sanchez
I do think I think Wenger will probably go at the end of the season, but I still think, because he's done this, you know, I don't think the board will be brave enough to sack him.
No,
because he's been there for over 21 years now, and I think Wenger's probably earned his opportunity now.
He's earned the opportunity to end it himself. You know, perhaps it should have been when they won the FA Cup. That might have been a better time for him to do it. But you know, with the whole Sanchez and Ozil situation, you know, are they going to get adequate replacements if it's a rather large if they leave? Because there's constant talk of Sanchez going to City and Ozil to United or PSG, because PSG want to buy anyone that's remotely good for ludicrous money. So that would probably be the ideal scenario for Arsenal. Sell Alexis Sanchez to PSG for like 200 million, and you know, reinvest it, or something. But you know, I have sympathy for Arsenal fans in the sense that they're watching a club which should, I mean, they have all the infrastructure and everything in place, but they've got a shareholder who doesn't invest a bloody penny, you know, in Stan Kroenke, who is just a leech for them. He's investing nothing, getting the profits. He's running it on a minimum budget whilst trying to keep them in the top 4. Therefore, he can make his money. So I'm sympathetic in that sense. I'm not sympathetic when, you know, they, you know, goad us over the whole injustices over the previous 3 games. And quite frankly, when they lose, I just kind of smile a little bit, and I'm just like, well, you know, you did kind of steal 3 points, so every loss that comes along is a little bit of karma.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Karma was the operative word I was going to say, really, because karma's a bitch.
I'm surrounded by gooners around here, so I take it tongue in cheek, and I'm sure they do as well. And you know, I do love Arsenal Fan TV. What Robbie does on there is fantastic.
Yes, Robbie does a great job on there, and
he does. A lot of them.
I mean, I've got to also say I get a lot of stick for being a Burnley fan where I work. I work in Steeton in West Yorkshire near Keighley, and a lot of people I get a lot of stick for being a Burnley fan. There's a lot of Man United supporters, Leeds fans that work there, and they honestly give me the almightiest stick. But I take it in good grace, and you know, it's great banter, and you know, you want that sort of banter between rival fans, and you know, it doesn't have to. You know, it doesn't have to get turned nasty. It's just great banter. But yeah, so I've had a lot of stick and saying, oh, you know, because I've been doing my own little prediction videos on Facebook recently, and a few of them have commented. Like, for instance, one guy, one of the nurses, they said that Brighton would win 5-0 last week, and I just tongue-in-cheek say, no, you've got no cat in hell's chance of them winning 5-0.
No. So that didn't exactly work out, did it? But Yeah, well, let's move along from the doom and gloom though, because it's been.
Yes, I think we've got to do it.
It is the season to be jolly, and
we should be jolly.
Sticking with the Burnley theme now. I say sticking with the Burnley theme. We're going to talk about, obviously. I will. If you've watched LTF, you'll know that at the start of the season we did do a Premier League prediction as to where teams were going to finish. So we're going to look back now at what we predicted. Now, I only predicted the bottom 3 and the top 6, along with 7th and 8th being Everton, because they always finish 7th, or do they? And I put Watford in 8th. But those two positions are kind of irrelevant right now, because what we need to talk about is how apocalyptically wrong
we both
the pair of us have been, kind of. I mean, we're right in some cases, but in terms of who we think we're going to win the league and who we thought was going to be in the bottom 3, or should I say who I thought was going to be in the bottom 3, we look a little bit silly. So I'll start with shooting myself in the foot multiple times and reloading and doing it again. Very pessimistic me, fresh off the back of my Chris Wood rant, predicted us to finish bottom. Because I didn't think we had the squad to deal with the Premier League, and I didn't think we invested enough. Didn't think we'd score enough goals. Didn't think the defence had been upgraded enough, and I thought that we just weren't going to be able to hack it. Speaking to you now from 6th place on the the 22nd of December. We sit 6th, above Spurs. You know. We've played the same amount of games. We are in touching distance of Liverpool and Arsenal. We are fighting for the top 4.
We're fighting for Champions League football. This is how good it's been.
That is what is going on. And there's talks of the stadium being renovated for access to disabled. It's an exciting time to be a Burnley fan. And pessimistic old me sat there and went, well, we're going to finish bottom. And, well, I mean, the worst case scenario could have been that I was right. The best case scenario, which is what's currently happening, is that I could have been pleasantly surprised. And bloody hell, they've pleasantly surprised me, all right. I mean, we started the season amazingly, obviously beating Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We made them look like a flipping pub team for the first half. It was ridiculous. Although they did nearly kill us with 9 men, which kind of had me on the edge of a heart attack.
It did have me in a heart attack as well. I was working that as well.
Obviously, neither of us had Burnley in the lofty position, so we were both completely wrong with how it is. But we are only mid-season, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm still sitting there going, get to 40. Just get to 40, and then we can worry about anything else. Just get...
Yes, get to 40, yes.
You got flipping London Longside, who I follow on Twitter, going on about how we're going to be playing Barcelona in the group stages next year. Just get to 40, then we can think about that.
Maybe we should try the Ranieri theory that if they get to 40 points, buy them a pizza. Now, if we get into the Champions League, buy them 2 pizzas.
Yeah, so I was completely wrong about that. The team that's currently bottom, obviously, is Swansea, who I don't think we actually. If I just quickly check, we'll just quickly pop up so what you can see there. You had Swansea. What you can see there are the are what we had. What we had as our things. They're not in a particular order, but we'll talk about them briefly. So, out of both of us. You had Swansea in the bottom 3.
That's right.
But I'll go through mine quickly. So I've got down here, I've got obviously Burnley, who completely wrong. Newcastle, they're sliding that way. And Huddersfield, who are also on a little bit of a slump. So that could still happen. But the current bottom 3, I think, is Swansea. I honestly can't remember. If I'm honest, let me just get the table up on my phone. This is all done in one. I'm all doing this in one take because it's Christmas, so I can be a bit more relaxed about it. Just get the table up. The current bottom 3. Okay, no, I'm not completely wrong. I say that. Newcastle are currently in the bottom 3.
Yeah,
so I was kind of right with that. But so Newcastle are 18th, West Brom are 19th, and Swansea are 20th.
No, can I just say, I'm very surprised that West Brom are down where they are now with the squad they've got. And I know that Tony Pulis got sacked and all that, and I just think maybe the football was probably a little stale there, but I'm still surprised to see West Brom down there. They're usually a very well-organised team. Maybe they've lost leaderships. There's talk of Johnny Evans going in January as well. And,
yeah, well, they said that he will be leaving because he's failed to agree a new contract. So that looks like that's done and dusted.
I'm a bit surprised where they are at the moment because they didn't look a bad side when they beat us at Turf Moor at the start of the season. So,
well, when you sack a manager who has a knack of getting out of relegation battles, and then find yourself in the relegation battle, it kind of doesn't make sense that you do that. But
and then you get Alan Pardew in and John Carver, who are about a fat lot of good.
Well, they might have a brief respite with Alan Pardew. He usually gets a decent first season out of his new teams, and then it all goes wrong again. So you never know, they might revive. But yeah, so Newcastle, West Brom, and Swansea. The teams that are close that are next closest: West Ham, Bournemouth, and Stoke, which neither of us had either. So the teams that we both had, such as Huddersfield, Huddersfield are all the way up in 11th.
Doing well, actually.
Doing
well.
Really well. Obviously, I mentioned Burnley all the way up in flipping 6th. And who was the other one?
Brighton.
Both had Swansea. Brighton. They are in 13th. So
they're doing okay.
At the halfway point of the season, they're doing reasonably well. So our favourites for relegation, apart from the fact that Newcastle and Swansea, between the two of us, we both picked one each. We were 33%, sort of. It's probably not. It's less than that. But either way, we both got a team each in the bottom 3 that we picked for our bottom 3s. And then now we go for the top 6. Now, obviously, neither of us put Burnley in 6th. So,
for obvious reasons.
Needless to say, we weren't expecting what we got. But,
no, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Can I just? I made myself a bit of a mug as well again because I said that this was going to be the season. I can't remember the exact phrase. I'm sure you can go back and look at the original prediction, but I'm sure I said something along the lines of, "This is the season where Pep Guardiola is going to be found out as a fraud, not a good manager. He just inherited good squads. His football wasn't going to create an end product. Man City were going to end trophyless, and they'd be nowhere near the title, and they would lose patience, and Pep Guardiola would be sacked by the end of the season." Well, they're currently on for the quadruple, are 11 points clear at the top of the table, and are playing some of the best football I've ever witnessed.
I'd agree with that.
I think I was a little bit wrong again. I mean, what can I say? He's proved me completely wrong. Man City sit top by a long, long way. Neither of us had City top. I had them as 4th. You had them as 2nd.
But I mean, Manchester United are having a good season. I mean, if City weren't running away with the title, United would be top, I think. So I'm not far one with Manchester United.
That's very close to being a Michael Owen line, that one. If you've ever heard his
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying now, because United have been getting the results. Okay, they had a bit of a blip against Bristol City in the League Cup the other night, and Mourinho will be gutted he's lost there. And I mean, I have to say, Mourinho, I've not been impressed with some of the things he's come out with. And then you've got the Milkgate incident and the Manchester derby.
Well, Jose Mourinho is being the one found out this season, to be honest. Yeah.
But I don't. But you say that, but they're improving now. I mean, did they finish? What was it last year? 5th, was it?
5th or 6th.
So they're improving.
They weren't top 4, so yeah, it's an improvement in that sense, I suppose. I think I did mention that as well. So if Manchester United do finish in the top 4, it's an improvement because that's not where they finished last year.
Exactly.
They had to win the Europa League to get into the Champions League, which is not the worst way to do it. I think Arsenal fans would take it this year, especially with the way the things are going. But so now what was it? What was the top 6 I went with? I'll just bring it up on the comment thing on the side again. So it's in order from 6th through to 1st. So my top 6 were obviously didn't include Burnley, but Spurs, Arsenal in 6th and 5th. Then it went City, Liverpool, United, and Chelsea. So not massively wrong. Well, I got United spot on. They're currently sitting 2nd. Liverpool are a place lower, but they are. Yeah, they're in 3rd, I think, because the draw with Arsenal tonight will have... No, it wouldn't. Sorry, no. It's a draw. Only worth 1 point, so they're 4th at present. Obviously, depending on how things look when this is published. But at time of recording, it's the 22nd. So I had Liverpool down in 3rd. They're currently 4th. Chelsea winning the league. That's no good because they're third. So far, I've only got United and Arsenal correct. Spurs would be correct if Burnley weren't doing so well.
I had this was my top 6 at the start of the season. I had down as follows: Manchester United top with City second. So those two are nearly there, but just slightly wrong. Chelsea are in third, so I've got that spot on. I had Spurs to finish fourth, Liverpool fifth, and Arsenal sixth. So I think I've probably got 1, maybe 2 out of the 6 so far at the halfway mark.
Yeah, still a lot to play for, but
yeah, still. I mean, well, a big leads in the Premier League have dwindled before. So if Pep Guardiola has got anything about it, he can't do a Newcastle. I think they were about 15 points clear at one point. Some 20 years ago, again, Manchester United just reeled them in the second half of the season.
It's because they lost the mind game. So, yeah.
And let's be fair, Mourinho is the master at mind games, and him and Guardiola have played mind games before. So there's still a lot to still sort out. I mean, Man City, I don't think they'll win the quadruple. To be fair to Guardiola, when there was talk, when someone, I think they won on penalties the other night against Leicester in the League Cup, and somebody asked him, well, the quadruple's still on, and he said, I want absolutely no talk of the quadruple because it's not going to happen. And I tell you what, that was refreshing to hear from Pep Guardiola, I have to say.
Yeah, he's been good this year. I mean,
I'll
be the first to admit I was completely wrong about what I said. I suppose when given the resources, he can create what he wants because having the unlimited resources that he has at City, he has the opportunity to do it. So he's turned Raheem Sterling from that. Well, I mean, he's still a greedy little such and such, but he's turned him into quite the player.
Of course he has. No, I have to say though, I mentioned I had a gripe about him when he managed the month the other week, and I did a video on YouTube about it.
Yes.
But I came up with an interesting point of view. How would he do managing a lower end club like a Burnley or a Brighton or a Crystal Palace, for example? How would he do it on a much smaller budget? Because let's be fair, Manchester City's budget is probably one of the biggest in Europe, if not the world.
Well, yeah.
Up there with PSG, and so he's got the tools already in place. But if he went to a smaller club, I would like to know how he'd go about it in the transfer market, how he'd go about it tactically with all due respect, with much less skillful players, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's
an interesting little debate.
Frank de Boer, you sort of look at what happened to him, and you think that's probably what would happen to Pep if he took a lower, because Frank de Boer their teams played really nice football, but it wasn't getting results, and he couldn't exactly go out and just buy what he wanted or what he needed because the unlimited resources weren't there. So
I mean, I watched his last game in charge against Burnley, and I have to say, Palace created far more chances to win 4 or 5-1 on that particular day, and realistically should have won 4 or 5-1 because they played some super stuff.
But if they had Gabriel Jesus or Sergio Aguero as one of their strikers, they probably would have scored them. But they can't go out and splash £50 million on a striker. They've got to deal with Benteke, who.
But to be fair, I've got to be honest. I mean, I'm really pleased at how Palace have reacted since second de Boer. I think Roy Hodgson, he was a bit of damaged goods, wasn't he, after England?
One of your favourite managers, good old Roy.
Yes, but to be fair though, he's turning it around. I think he's in where he's comfort.
What can I say? The job that he did for Fulham and West Brom previously says that he should be kept more than capable of dealing with Crystal Palace, and he is doing. The Liverpool situation. Well, that was a bit of a. What can you say? That was a really bad time for Liverpool because the ownership was changing and there was nothing there to be had because it was just after Rafa had gone and Kenny Dalglish came in after him. Was that after him? I think it was.
Yeah, it was because I think they wanted to make a statement I think Kenny Dalglish. I think they wanted to make a statement to new owners by appointing a legend like Dalglish. I think.
Yeah, but.
To be fair, he did win a League Cup.
Yeah.
Dalglish. So
got to an FA Cup final as well. That's
he won something with them.
Yeah.
But obviously, the holy grail for Liverpool is that league title, isn't it? So
what was the last trophy that Liverpool won? That League Cup?
The League Cup, yeah.
Well,
They haven't won anything else, have they?
No.
Not that I know of.
Not that I can recall. A few Asia trophies from pre-season. I don't know whether they count.
Yeah, but they don't count. They don't count as major trophies, Chris. We know that.
They got to a Europa League final, to be fair, and a League Cup final against Man City, but that's as close as they've got. But no, I don't know. I don't really know how Pep would do. I reckon it would probably go the same way as Frank de Boer, because as much as unless they gave them loads of time to coach it in, but in this division it's been quite clearly shown by the 7 managers given the axe. If it's not working, you're gone, and somebody else gets a crack at trying something.
But it's different season, and it's the same old merry-go-round. It's the same managers, and you're like, I mean, it would, it's refreshing to see somebody like Sean Dyche actually have a go at breaking into the top 6 and make a name for himself. Same with David Wagner, same with Chris Hughton.
Yeah.
They're having a go, and it's refreshing to see, and I think it's brilliant. I mean, Newcastle, I think, could pull away in the second half of the season, because it looks as if Mike Ashley stays now. We're going to be finally numbered, because he is selling to a woman called Amanda Staveley. I think it was at £300 million, is it now?
Well, it's the details of that are, from what I've heard, the deal's kind of hit a buffer at the moment, because Mike Ashley's being a bit of a knob again, but I'm sure that'll eventually iron itself out, because it's better for both parties if Newcastle and Mike Ashley were apart, because, I mean, they haven't been the same since Mike Ashley took over. They haven't been the same since Bobby Robson left as manager. I mean, there was a lot of the period between Bobby Robson being sacked and now is very, very strange for Newcastle, because they've made a lot of silly decisions, but one of them being correct being hiring Rafa Benitez. But yeah, they could do well if they have the correct investment. They've certainly got the stage to do it with their facilities and the stadium.
I tell you what, it's one of the best grounds in the country, St James's Park.
Absolutely.
Atmospheric wise, you can't beat it.
It's fantastic. But Newcastle could do that. But going back to the top 6, obviously our predictions. My logic of Chelsea winning the league was simply whenever Burnley have been in the Premier League, Chelsea won the league. So
of course.
I mean, there's still time for that to change. Let's not forget how bad a start Chelsea had, but I mean, they are 14 points off the pace at this stage. I think that's going to be, unless something goes apocalyptically wrong, like Manchester City get carried away with trying to win the Champions League. Because I'm looking at that points buffer and I'm sitting there going, Pep Guardiola now will have the dilemma of, do you throw away your unbeaten record to focus on the Champions League, or do you go for the piece of history, which is unbeaten domestic season, and potentially miss out on Champions League? That is going to be something that he has to decide. Because I can guarantee when those Champions League games come around, he's going to have big games that follow them or are just before them, and he's going to have to make a decision.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think if they implode, I can't see them imploding in the second half of the season. I think City will have enough in the tank to win the league. They've got enough quality there.
Well, the 117 drawn one, and that draw was against Everton when Everton were really bad. So I mean, anything could happen, but quite frankly, a lot of the interest is how who's going to finish in the remaining Champions League places. Can Burnley actually even dream of getting European football? You've got Everton. You've got Everton rapidly re-emerging. They're looking to claim their 7th place, so that's fine. They can take that off Spurs if they like.
I think they've appointed the right man for the job, actually, in Big Sam Allardyce. I think he's a very safe pair of hands, and he's getting the best out of the players he's got. Because let's be fair, Koeman, I think, was running out of ideas. I think he wasted a lot of the money. Didn't buy a striker to replace Lukaku.
Well, that was it, wasn't it? And the style of football he was trying to play as well.
It just didn't suit Everton's personality.
Another scenario where nice football, but not getting the results, versus slightly ugly but gets the job done.
And to be fair, Big Sam, I mean, it was a masterstroke for the West Ham game, putting Wayne Rooney in, because Rooney was absolutely unplayable.
Yeah, he was.
So on his day, I still think Rooney is a top class player on his day.
Yeah, and Sam Allardyce, there's a lot of underplayed. I don't know if that's the correct word. Underestimated managers that have been given another crack of the whip that are really proving the doubters wrong. That's the phrase I was looking for. David Moyes. I mean, the best thing that has happened to West Ham, apart from David Moyes being appointed, is the fact that they dropped Joe Hart.
That was a very brave call and a very good.
I hate to say it about Joe Hart because I thought a few years ago he was the best English goalkeeper we've had.
Well, he was.
He was fantastic. But something happened. The Euros happened. Ever since the Euros, and obviously Pep Guardiola shattering his confidence by literally saying you can't use your feet, therefore you're crap. He hasn't been the same since. I mean, he dropped clangers left, right, and centre in Italy. He's been conceding goals for fun with West Ham. And then the fact that Adrian comes in and then gets 3 clean sheets in 4 games. You know, it's against top teams as well. They play Chelsea, Arsenal. You know, just as a kick in the teeth. So, you know, but West Ham are climbing the table as well. David Moyes is doing really well. As we mentioned, Roy Hodgson comes in. Loftus-Cheek has been a revelation this year.
He's been amazing. Zaha's been another revelation.
Zaha is what happens when you remove the international expectation of being English from you. Because since he's committed to the Ivory Coast, because he's got 2 caps for England, but he wasn't called. They were friendly, so FIFA allowed him to swap allegiances. Because for whatever reason, Gareth Southgate wouldn't select him, which. When you're sitting there going, right, so who are you picking instead? Oxlade-Chamberlain? Why are you picking Oxlade-Chamberlain instead of him? What Oxlade-Chamberlain are you watching? To be fair to the Ox, he's actually been all right the last few games, but
yes.
Zaha as a winger is better, and Zaha just said, right, well, you know what? If I'm not going to be picked for England, I'm going to go play for the Ivory Coast, which actually gives me a chance of winning a trophy on the international stage. Because the Ivory Coast, 9 times out of 10, they win the Africa Cup of Nations. So, stands a chance of getting a medal in that sense. And he has been outstanding ever since. And having Andros Townsend on the other side, you know, they've, apart from Benteke going rogue a little bit with deciding when and when he doesn't take penalties, and that Loftus-Cheek, it's like you've got this wonderful like quartet. When it's on song, it's really difficult to stop. You've got that Benteke up front causing havoc for the centre-backs. Loftus-Cheek is sitting behind. You've got Zaha and Townsend on the wings. You think that's a nightmare for defenders. You know, it's just... And Loftus-Cheek, ever since he got his call up to England and was nutmegging and flipping pannering Germans left, right and centre, he's just been on form. And Chelsea will have a decision to make when he returns from loan, because their midfield, obviously, their midfield of Kante and whether it be Drinkwater or whoever, Bakayoko. How is Loftus-Cheek going to fit in there? I don't think he will, and I think
if Roy's got a bit about him, and I'm sure he'll be back in the transfer market, I would actually get him in permanently.
Well, we all would.
I mean, I think he's worth a punt to £10 million of anybody's money. I mean, I'd love Burnley to take a punt on him for £10 million.
Yeah, well,
I
think he'd break our wage structure with the way that modern football is. But Loftus-Cheek, I mean, I said it. I was saying it 2 years ago when I saw him at the under-21s. He is a quality player. My friend Mike has been screaming it from the rooftops for the past 40. I mean, he's a Chelsea fan. He plays Football Manager 24/7. Well, maybe not so much these days, but he's always sitting there going, Loftus-Cheek, watch him. Him and Charlie Musonda, 2 of Chelsea's most promising players coming through. And it's just, you know, you're sitting there like, well, when are they going to play? Because Chelsea keep on buying talent and then throwing it straight into the starting 11. These 60, 70 players they've got out on loan, when the hell are they supposed to get in? You know, so it's just Loftus-Cheek. I mean, perfect timing as well in a World Cup year. Just hope he doesn't get injured. Touch wood, because you know, it would be. You know, there's no expectations for the World Cup.
I mean, have you seen the draw we've got? I think we've been very lucky with the draw.
We've got an okay draw. Yes, we could still.
I mean, we could have had. I mean, we've got who have we got? We've got Tunisia, Panama, and Belgium. Now, will tell you that the Belgian game will be the toughest out of the three.
Yeah, but if the Welsh can beat them, then why can't we?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if Gareth picks the right squad and gets the right tactics, we can have a good go. But I'm not optimistic about our chances in the knockout stage. I mean, the draw could have been far worse. There was talk of us drawing Brazil or Argentina or Germany, but we didn't get any of those teams. So we are grateful in that respect. But you know, we thought we were going to have it easy 4 years ago against Costa Rica, and they topped the group.
Yeah,
they topped the group, and
this is the thing. Everyone's sitting here going, well, we could still do in England, which is what happened when we lost to Iceland. We did in England.
Yes,
that's forever now. Just, well, we're England. We can still massively mess this up.
You know what? Conceivably, we could still meet them in the second round if it works out.
Well, yeah, Iceland did qualify for the World Cup. You know,
I think they've got a decent chance of progressing. I think they've got the one thing that Iceland have got in their favour. They're not going to be the best team in the world, but what they've got is a bit like the Burnley spirit. They've got a togetherness.
They've got Goodmanson in the squad for starters. But they do stand a chance. I think the one thing that benefits Iceland is that there's the money behind most of their players isn't much. Sigurdsson's probably the highest paid player on that team, simply because of who he plays for. Goodmanson's probably a close second.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
The rest of them, you're looking around and it's just like these guys. They're probably not. I wouldn't be able to name you a full Iceland first team. I wouldn't. Just wouldn't. I mean, I don't know where most of them play.
Their
manager's a dentist, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a part-time dentist.
Exactly. So
yeah,
there's no stupidly high wages sitting behind those players thinking, oh, well,
they're a proper you have to say they're a proper football team.
Well, this is the thing. When money isn't a big thing. I mean, I know people say they don't do it for the money and everything, but you look at all these players being paid, 50, 60 grand a week. You kind of sat there like, yeah, but when it all goes wrong, you can just go home and hide in your mansion or go have a cruise in your super sports car that's cost you £200,000 or something, and it's just like, the people, the guys who are playing for Iceland are playing because they're doing it for the nation. They're playing for the badge. They would live and die for the flag, on a football pitch. I mean, when I look at the England squad that went to the Euros, I sat there and just went, how many of them do I realistically think would give a damn, to be honest? I know they were on the ground and on their haunches and disappointed and everything, but really, how many of them got home and just went, well, it's just England?
I would suggest probably about 3/4 of the squad.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the things that Jamie Carragher said in his autobiography. One of the things, the issue that he found when he was playing for England, he just didn't quite care enough. Because it's like they got knocked out of the 2006 World Cup, and as much as he was devastated at the time, he got back and he was just like, well, it is just England. I mean, he did have that major attachment, obviously, to Liverpool for obvious reasons, which probably didn't help. But a lot of those players in that England squad as well would have just sat there like, they're playing for Chelsea, Manchester United and all that. They're competing for major honours all the time anyway for their clubs. Missing out on one trophy for your nation probably isn't going to hurt you as much as, I know a World Cup only comes around every 4 years and the Euros is just the same, but I think a lot of players don't care as much playing for their country as they do for their club.
Which I think is kind of sad because, you look at this, it's a great opportunity. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people who would give their right arm to put on a white shirt with 3 irons on their chest. I mean, maybe we've gone wrong in the respect that maybe the '66 World Cup win was more of a burden than the celebration, really, because it put expectation on for years. I don't think there's much expectation this time around because we're not as good as what we think we are. And I think starting to wake up.
You mentioned '66, but back then that was when the money was nothing. There was no money. There was no money in football. And you look at Iceland and the amount of money that they get paid, as a whole, like I said, Sigurdsson's probably the highest paid player in their national team, unless somebody wants to correct me. I'm not exactly fine-tuned in my knowledge of Icelandic football.
No.
But, they probably don't get paid anywhere near as much. They're probably like, most of them are probably on League 2 wages at most. I mean, I don't really sound disrespectful or anything, I just don't really know. But, because if they were well known, I would know about them. Because, if you're well known...
Well, I do know the goalkeeper used to direct the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, so it's just stuff like that. It's like the flipping manager's a part-time dentist.
Listen, I've commentated on them loads of times, and I've come out... If you listen back to the commentaries from 2016, when I did them a couple of times against England and France, I will tell you all sorts of... I've come up with all sorts of bloody useless information about them during the commentary.
But they're playing for the love of the game and for their... And, they would live and die for the flag. Whereas some players, I felt, for England, they're just there because they've been picked, and it would kind of be bad press if they turned it down, that sort of thing. Because I know that Danny Drinkwater took a lot of stick for turning down playing for England recently, but the argument was that he wasn't fit. He would literally he'd just been declared fit to play, but he wasn't match fit. So he said, "No, I'm not match fit. There's no point in me being there."
Yeah,
it's a fair point. I can live with
it's
that.
An honest point. It's an honest point.
And if he was fresh off the injury table, so I was like, okay, fair point. And then you get people like Dele Alli and Harry Kane, who dropped out of the England squad. Harry Kane looked injured, to be fair, when he played for Spurs. Dele Alli, however, they all immediately played for their clubs afterwards. All the Spurs players dropped out, and I'm just sat there like, this is it. It's happening again. They're prioritising club over country yet again. To be fair, like I said, to Kane, he did look injured when he played in the North London derby. Dele Alli just looked terrible because he was playing rubbish. And to be honest, I laughed when that happened. I laughed at Spurs when all their English when they lost the North London derby, not because of it's Spurs, but because of the England players that dropped out of the England squad with little knocks because they wanted to be, 100% for the North London derby. I'm like, you've been picked by your country. It is supposed to be one of the biggest honours to represent your nation. You're being classed as the elite, the best in your nation, and you're like, oh, but I've got a little bruise on my hamstring, I can't play. Yeah, sorry. What are you doing? Flipping Michael Owen, as much as I detest the guy, because I think he's a bit of a knob, when it came to the 2006 World Cup, to be fair, this will back up the Danny Drinkwater situation. He rushed back from, I can't remember what it was. I think he broke his metatarsal or something.
Was it Rooney? I think it might have been Rooney.
No, it wasn't Rooney. Rooney had a different issue, but because it was the 2006 World Cup and he got injured in the first game against Sweden, I think it was, because he crawled off the pitch, if you remember. Because he came back from a broken metatarsal, and then he came back too quickly, and then he broke it again at the World Cup. But he rushed back because he wanted to go to the World Cup. Which, with Owen, obviously, I mean, I get the feeling that he liked representing England, but he was very much money motivated, which didn't help. But
no, but you can see his passion for the country, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a fearless England player.
Beckham was one that wasn't the most technically gifted player by any stretch of the imagination.
He gave his all for the shirt.
Had the best had probably one of the best right foots in the world. It's just his left foot was a little bit,
just
very rarely used. Wasn't quick for a winger, but he knew how to maximise his potential. Gave more than any other player I've seen give to the England shirt, which I think took him that extra mile.
And he was a proper leader of men.
Made up for that little gap in ability, because there are some world class wingers who are super fast, can get to the byline. He didn't need to get to the byline. He could just whip it from the final third, and it would be in the box on the money for Peter Crouch. But because of how much he gave, you could guarantee whenever Beckham put on an England shirt, 110% every time, 200% sometimes.
Yeah.
The game against Greece, he was the only one that flipping turned up. For goodness'
I
sake.
remember it well. Yeah.
He was a man on a mission, and he was going to take England to the World Cup, with kicking and screaming, regardless of whether they didn't want to. So more players with his commitment to the national team is what we need. And these lads who have won the Youth World Cups and Euros are probably the people to do it. Because at the moment, they're all still fairly grounded. They're not on stupid money. They haven't been hooked up by stupid agents like Raheem Sterling was. And they have the potential to go far. But the moment that somebody slaps them with a big contract, that's when you're going to start worrying, because all of a sudden, playing football you get a little bit sidetracked. You're like, but I've got so much money. And then they sort of end up doing stuff with the money and forget that they're there to play football. So once you take the whole... What was it? When a hobby becomes a job, it can sometimes become a bit of a nightmare. And that's kind of the situation. Yes, it's a job, but it's reasonably paid whilst they're still young. Yes. The moment you slap them with a big contract, they're going to be like, money. Some of them have never seen that much money in their life, and you suddenly hand a 21-year-old, you hand an 18-year-old, £5,000 a week. They're going to be like, oh my god, I've got so much. That's what I'd be like if I was given that much money a week. So they've got to be careful with this next group of players coming through. I mean, we saw at the youth tournaments, they gave absolutely everything.
100% every game.
Every single game, and it was so refreshing to see. And the England women's team that I saw recently, I know it's a little bit unrelated, obviously, but it was another thing, seeing relentless attack, 110%, every second until the final whistle. Because, I mean, money isn't the motivation for them either, to be fair. They're not played even remotely the same amount as the men's game. But but they love it. Yeah, they love it. They love it. They give it all. I mean, and look how far they've got in recent tournaments. They got knocked out by the champions Holland in the Euros, and they got third in the World Cup. So, I mean, give them another 18 months, they could win something. I really did. The squad they've got. I mean, the Mark Sampson thing didn't help their cause, but. It didn't. Now that they've got rid of him, now that that's blown over, they've got to make the right appointment as for the coach. I think there's a lot of good female coaches out there who can give them the right guidance. I think they should go female for the next coach. But then it stops all this ridiculous sexist nonsense. Yeah, I mean it's difficult. The problem I have is that there aren't many highly qualified female coaches, which is one of the issues that they have. Which, to be honest, I then sit there and go, okay, what about former player? They can still get those badges whilst they're doing the job. But, former players, they know what it's like at that level. They know exactly what they're doing. Like Kelly Smith, I know she's busy doing her thing, but a good example.
Or Rachel Yankee, for example.
Well, yeah, one of the highest capped player in England history for the women's team.
I think
full stop actually, to be fair, because I think she's got more caps than Peter Shilton had for the men's team. So technically,
I mean, you could just look at one or two of the current squads, like for instance, one or two of the current players. I mean, Karen Carney, she's now a very experienced campaigner. She'll be coming towards the end of her career. She might as well take her coaching badges. Steph Alton, she could do it as well.
But the same can be said for the men's game as well, because. I mean, they have a former player in charge of the current England side. Gareth Southgate played for England, knows exactly what it's like. Fucking,
I'm surprised that just going back to the women. I mean, Rachel Brown. I'm surprised she's not tried. I mean, okay, she's one of our own, but
I somehow knew that you were going to throw in a Burnley link there, Rachel Brown.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, she speaks. I mean, I've seen her on TV, and she speaks well on the game. She's, when she talks about the men's game, she's very well spoken, and she comes across really well. And I think she'd make a good coach, personally.
But this is the whole thing of money being a problem, and it sort of distracts, because the women's game, it's not there. Money isn't there. Therefore, they all play really well, And the youth teams, they all do really well because money's not there. But you look at players like. Who's a good example that I can think of recently? Jack Rodwell. Perfect example. The world was at his feet when he was at Everton. Got bought by Man City for stupid money, was paid stupid money, and now he's average at best. Championship player. He was supposed to be the next big thing. But he got handed a really big contract. Same could be said for what was his name? He was also at Man City. What was he called?
Oh,
Something. I think it was Johnson. I forget his first name.
Wasn't Adam, was it?
No, not Adam Johnson.
No, it's not him that's in prison then.
I'm trying to think.
Michael Johnson.
Yes, Michael Johnson. That was it.
Michael Johnson. That's it.
He was supposed to be the next England great, and then he got injured. Literally lived off. I mean, he wasn't being paid. Well, this was before Man City were taking over, but he was still there when they got taken over, so he was still being paid handsomely. But you just get he just, if you're getting paid that much money whilst you're injured, you're not doing anything, and then never got back in shape. Still was getting, still got paid for the duration of his contract. Why would he have the motivation to get back? He was unlucky with injuries, to be fair, so that's probably unfair to put him in that bracket. But it's the amount of England players. But Jack Rodwell's probably a good example. I'm trying to think of others that. I mean, I'm sure people will mention others that were supposed to be England's next big thing. I mean, Fabian Delph, kind of an example, although he's been kind of converted to left back. It was questionable when he moved to City whether he would get game time, but Pep clearly has a plan for him, so maybe something will come of that. But it's just you throw all this money at young players and it all goes wrong, and then they lose the motivation. They just don't. They just get happy with what they have, and then nothing happens of it. It's a shame. But these young lads coming through, hopefully it won't happen to them, and they'll have that same passion, because that was one thing that was tradition that was stereotypical about these England players. You look at, we haven't really had the same sort of thing since, say, Euro '96. The raw passion that the national teams had then. I mean, apart from Gary Neville, because that's unfair. Gary Neville was very passionate, but he was the only one that wasn't singing the bloody anthem. Singing is a very tame word. Bellowing the national anthem is the best way to describe what was happening that day against Germany, because that was nothing like Tony Adams and Alan Shearer screaming the national anthem. You barely get that now, so that's one thing that's missing out. But going back to the Premier League, obviously, this is we didn't really have a structure for this because it's sort of a festive chat as such. But going back to the Premier League, obviously, the way things are going, from a Burnley fan's perspective, who lives in the south, it's never been better. So
we never had it so good that way. We've never had it so good.
I'm surrounded by West Ham fans, Arsenal fans, Spurs fans. There are United fans obviously around, all sorts, and giving me stick left, right, and centre over the years. And now I'm sitting here like, well, and Chelsea fans obviously. Well, now how the tables have turned. Now all of a sudden we're actually quite good, and we're not doing it on stupid money either. We're not throwing a checkbook left, right, and centre. We're playing as a team. Everybody's giving 110%. It's a team of Beckhams, not the most technically gifted, but they graft at it.
I tell you, that is refreshing to see in the money-laden world of the Premier League. It's amazing, and I've got to be honest with you. We're narrowly winning games, but we are going on the right end of results. I mean, I think we'll start no problem. I think it's probably. I mean, I come up with a couple of stats that I mentioned on Facebook the other week. It's the first time we've been in the top four since March 1975, and the Bay City Rollers were number one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
and Crossroads was actually the number one soap. And Crossroads was the number one soap at the time. Yeah,
so it's incredible to see. I'm glad to see that Sam Allardyce is doing well at Everton.
Yes.
Mainly for two reasons. One, it meant Everton left Sean Dyche alone. Thank God for that.
Thank God. Yes.
And I felt a little bit aggrieved when the whole England fiasco happened to him, because I still think he was the right man for England, and I think
he would have made a great England manager if that hadn't blown up.
I think he wouldn't have pulled any punches with team selection. Southgate's getting there though, so It's just taking a little bit longer.
To be honest with you, to me, in my opinion, the jury's still out on him. But you know, we've got to judge him after a tournament, haven't we?
Yeah, and what happened to Sam Allardyce was a bit of a joke because it was a newspaper just basically trying to get a story, and they didn't care that they got someone sacked over it. What Sam Allardyce allegedly, I mean, there's still no concrete proof of what he was talking about is what he did. So, you know, it was a bit of a joke as to what happened, but I still think he should have been England manager. But, you know, it is what it is. Crystal Palace have benefited from it, obviously, by being kept up by him, and now Everton are proceeding to benefit from him as well. So,
I would, you know what, I'd actually have Everton down as dark horses to win the Cup this year. I really would, because I think
Everton are doing really well now. He's in charge because he's got them playing in a style that works. And I dare say when the transfer window comes around, they're only going to get better, because what Sam Allardyce will do is go, get us a couple of strikers and we'll be all right. You know, so because they bought loads of creative midfielders instead of buying what they needed, which was goals. And, well, I say that. Lukaku isn't exactly doing his best job at United, but he's scoring. He's doing the same as what he was for Everton, which was scoring the goals against the team, which they should. But being left with a lot to be desired when it came to the big games against the big teams, because, well, he still didn't really score anything. He went on a barren run. Scored 11 goals to start off the season and didn't score for like 8 games. So, yeah, that's what was going on with him. But, you know, Sam Allardyce, he'll know that Everton needs strikers. I mean, who knows? He might go in for Christian Benteke, because, you know, they worked well together at Palace. But we'll see what Sam does. But I do hate what happened to him as much as, and a lot of the stuff was still alleged. So, but like I said, Southgate's doing a half decent job for England right now, and he's slowly. I mean, he had a lot of favour from me anyway when he dropped Wayne Rooney, and I think once he drops Joe Hart, as much as nothing against Joe Hart, it's just I don't think he's up to snuff anymore.
He isn't. I have to agree.
I feel like that Nick Pope should be at least considered.
Yes, John. I have to tell you, when I was off to Manchester to see my friend Karen the other week, John, I was listening to Talk Sport on the way over to Oldham, and I was on the M66 travelling across, and we got to Bury, and John Ruddy had come on Jim White's Talk Sport programme, and they were talking about England goalkeepers and stuff like that, because he's having a terrific season himself with Wolves. Yeah. Right now at the top of the Championship, and he said, "I'm very surprised that Nick Pope hasn't been mentioned because of the amount of clean sheets and the amount of saves he's making." And we both know how quality he's been in recent weeks, and since he's come in for Tom Heaton, and he's done. I think he should be considered for England. Definitely tried out in one of the friendly games, I think. And Southgate's seen a lot of him now because he's been at Turf Moor a few times since. So I'd like to see Nick Pope given an opportunity, given a friendly game, one of the warm-up games.
Well, I think if you call him up, you got to call up Ben Mee and Tarkowski.
I think Tark should be called up. I think Ben Mee. I'm surprised that Ben Mee hasn't been called up because he's had an unbelievable season.
I mean, it says a lot about Ben Mee when he can have, because let's face it, he's the constant here, Ben Mee, because Tom Heaton's injured. Michael Keane left. Ben Mee's still there. He's now got a new centre-back. He's had various centre-back partnerships, either himself with Tarkowski or Long. And then he's had two different goalkeepers behind him. He's had Nick Pope and he's had Tom Heaton. So you kind of sat there like, right, so does that mean Ben Mee's doing a really good job at keeping it all together? Or, you know...
I have to say, since he's come in as replaced Heaton as captain, I think he's captained the side really well. Yeah, I have to say, yeah. I mean, he's done tremendously well, and I've been very impressed with him. I think he'll do exactly the same tomorrow against Tottenham. I'd like to think so, anyway. But this, I do think. I mean, Jack Cork when Mee was out, he did really well and captained the side.
Jack made the England squad. Completely failed to mention that as well. You know.
But you see what we, I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, we would have, we would have probably laughed our sides off if we were given that sort of season right now, considering we were all surrounding the championship. But I'll go back to what I said about Sean Dyche right now. Again, getting us where we are now. If they were to give him the freedom of Burnley, of the town centre, in fact, I wouldn't just give him the freedom. I'd actually just give him the whole of Burnley to Sean Dyche. He can own it for all I care, because for what he's done for not just to the football club, but for the whole town. In fact, so much so that if Burnley, by some miracle, get into even the Europa League next season, there's a pub right on the. You may have heard it, the Princess Well.
I've seen it.
Yeah, they
he eats there for free as it is, and he just said if he gets into Europe, we'll name the pub the Dyche.
I mean, that would be just fantastic. He's got a mural that's unfortunately has been knocked down by the stupid council. Yeah. But I think they should have kept that for sentimental reasons. But you think about it, they market the pub as the pub that Dyche drinks for free, and then we're going to name it the Dyche. I tell you what, if it does happen, I would be I'd be drinking in there every other week. I'd be proud to drink in the Dyche. I tell you what, that'd be brilliant. Right. Because it just galvanises the town.
Yeah, it does.
Fantastic.
It does. It's brilliant. Right, so now we're going to do the little topic of... now, obviously, it's fairly obvious that Manchester City... Well, I say obvious. Man City are probably going to win the league. So, as much as we can sit there... As much as we can go, oh, do you want to change anything about your predictions? Obviously, the first thing we'll do is we'll both shove City right to the top of the table, going...
We have to. It's a no-brainer.
They're going to win the league. So, the remaining questions that remain, obviously, the bottom three and the remaining European places. Now, it's the funny thing is we have to ask this question, and for the whole European position, we have to sit there and genuinely consider Burnley as a possibility. We have to genuinely do that. But
it's just, I can't believe it. I'm shocked.
At present, we are sat a point ahead of Spurs. We've played the same amount of games as everyone, apart from Arsenal and Liverpool, because they've played literally whilst we're recording this. Obviously, we'll start with the bottom three, because it's tight at the bottom, and a lot of the bottom six have been in the bottom three. Obviously, they've all kind of jumbled around. I mean, Swansea, obviously, they're the only marooned club as such, because even if they were to win, if they say 1-1 their next game 1-0, they'd still be in the bottom three regardless of what happens, because they'd be level on points with Newcastle, but they would have a -14 goal difference, and Newcastle have -11. So they're the only one that's kind of marooned. The rest, I mean, you could say anyone from West Brom in 19th on 14 points, all the way up to Huddersfield in 11th, could be that. I mean, Southampton haven't really been in the relegation zone. They've just kind of sat mid-table and just stayed there. Obviously, the rest have all changed managers. Obviously, Stoke, possibly a worry with Mark Hughes. He's kind of being tipped as the next manager to be sacked, which, again, it's another case of he's got Stoke out of that horrible rut of playing dirty, ugly football from the Pulis era. He's playing some really good stuff. I mean, the last couple of seasons, they were playing some really good stuff with players like Shaqiri. Obviously, they lost Arnautovic, which lost a little bit of their flair. But, I mean, they're probably...
Yeah, well, going on, staying with the Arnautovic bit, I mean, you saw him the other week against Stoke when he was playing for West Ham. He absolutely ran the show, and he absolutely annoyed the Stoke fans to...
Well, they gave him so much stick, he thought, right, well, I'm going to ruin your day.
Yeah, but
rightly bloody so.
He answered it in the best possible way, which I thought was really good. And it just... and I'm glad... when he got substituted, he just said, so there you go, I've just answered your boos.
The critics, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, and a great professional. Well done to Marco Arnautovic.
Anyway, let's get to the main rut of the question. So, bottom three. Are you going to stick with what you picked? I mean, obviously, I'm going to twist because I'm not leaving Burnley bottom. Don't be silly from this point. So, obviously, you had Huddersfield, Swansea, and Brighton as your bottom 3.
I'm going to twist 2 of them.
You're going to twist 2 of them. Swansea,
I'm
obviously,
going to keep
bottom.
Now, I'm going to keep Swansea in the bottom 3 for the simple reason. Now, the reason I picked Swansea is that they needed. Now, I don't think they'll get out of it because they've had a horrible transfer window. They didn't get the players in they needed. Gylfi Sigurdsson has blatantly not been replaced. They've tried Wilfried Bonney over a week, but that's once in a blue moon. That move is not working out for all parties. Paul Clement didn't know what he was coming and going. I think the only thing that will determine whether Swansea stay up or not is this next managerial appointment. Now they've come out and said they need someone with proven Premier League experience. It's all right coming out and saying it.
Yeah, but they're contradicting themselves by ruling Pulis out because he plays ugly football. It's like,
well, it's not within the Swansea way, is it? I mean,
no.
What is the Swansea way nowadays? I mean, they had an identity under Brendan Rodgers. They had an identity under Michael Laudrup. They had an identity under Gary Monk.
Well, people are sitting there going, would Brendan Rodgers drop Celtic for Swansea to go back? I'm just like, no, are you kidding?
The answer is no, because
Champions League football every season. He's taken them on a 69. Of course, they would have to end it on that number.
Can I just say something about that? Right, the only reason they've gone on a 69 match unbeaten run is because Rangers have been out of the way for so long.
Yeah,
right. Let's be fair. They relegated Rangers, in my opinion, when they had all their financial problems. Yeah. They should have stuck by their neighbours. I don't care how fierce the rivalry is. You do not do that. And I think they've done that.
They've become worse.
So they're not going to get the credit. I'm sorry, but if Celtic fans want to lynch me for it, fair enough. But I'm sorry, but that is false. That's false. I just don't think the quality of opposition.
It would literally be like if you took Swansea out of the Premier League and dropped them in the Welsh Premier Division. They'd probably do the same.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I can't take that seriously. I'm sorry, but I cannot take that seriously.
Going back to our relegation thing.
Yes.
So Swansea, you're sticking with the other 2, obviously.
The other 2,
So the other 2, like you said, you got Huddersfield and Brighton. So are you gonna not have them in it?
I think they've got enough about them to survive, despite what Brighton did to us last week. I still think that they should have enough in the tank. The 2 teams I do feel fear for now are Stoke, because they haven't replaced Arnautovic. They lack of ideas. The Britannia is not the fortress it once was.
It's not the Britannia anymore either.
No, it's not. But it is.
It's acknowledge it as it.
Yeah, but the atmosphere is gone.
Yeah.
And away teams now are thinking, oh, great, it's not as atmospheric as it used to be. Well, great, 3 easy points. We'll turn up there, no problem. So, I mean, Mark Hughes under a big pressure. I also fear for West Brom. I think they've probably just signed a little bit of put a nail in the death warrant because by sacking Pulis. Now, okay, the style of football wasn't great, and I know the results weren't too great, but I think if they kept faith with them, as Shearer said on Match of the Day, if they kept faith with him, they'd kept them up because he's got a very good record of not being relegated.
Well, here's the thing. West Brom,
and I think they've made a boob.
Yeah, West Brom were notorious for being the yo-yo club, and they got established. So now, if they get relegated, will they yo-yo straight back up? Because, let's face it, the teams that have dropped out of the Premier League the last few seasons have found it quite tough trying to get back. I mean, Villa, their second season in, they're doing all right.
They're doing fine. They're in the playoffs.
Cardiff, a few seasons ago, obviously they're doing reasonably well now, but that's because they've got Neil Warnock in charge.
I think they'll blow up. I think Warnock. I mean, they're in the danger of. I don't think they're good enough to go up this year with Cardiff. I've got to be honest with you. Despite what I think Warnock will probably. Warnock will shoot his mouth off once too often, and it'll all backfire on him, like he always did. I mean, he had Sheffield United up there for umpteen seasons.
The legendary times of him versus Stan Turner. Oh. Glorious days of where the mouth ran just a little bit too much and you thought somebody's going to get murdered on the touchline. It's just... Oh.
He talks a good game, Warnock, but I still...
I quite like Warnock, if I'm honest. I think he's a character, so that's the way I put it.
much as everybody dislikes him in Burnley, he's proven that he does get promotions. But I don't want Cardiff in the Premier League. The last thing we need is another Welsh side, and that's not me being anti-Welsh. I just don't like Cardiff City, the way they go about things. I don't like their owner.
Well, their owner's a bit of a
Yeah, I just don't like the whole idea of it. But I'd like to see. I'll tell you who I'd like to see go up next year. Bristol City. I think they're having an unbelievable season. And do you know what? The funny thing is, they were having a bad trot last year, and everyone wanted Lee Johnson to go. And the chairman, all credit to him, he stuck by him through thick and thin. And this is the reward. They're in the League Cup semi-finals. They've just beaten Manchester United, and deservedly so. They're in third in the table. They've won their last 5 games. They've got a fantastic stadium now. Ashton Gate looks an absolutely beautiful stadium. And I think that they're equipped now for Premier League football. I'd like to see Villa back there next year because I think they should not be.
To be fair, Bristol City, they nearly made it way back in 2008 if it wasn't for Mendes.
But having said that, though, I think it'd be great. I think Wolves will win the league. I think pound for pound they are the best team in the Championship, bar none. They've got a very good side. I'd like Bristol City go up in second. And obviously Villa to win the playoffs. But going back to the...
we need to pick teams that they're replacing first.
Right, well, I think at the moment, it all depends on whether they do well in the January window, because that's going to be key.
Yeah.
At the moment, on current form, I would...
At Christmas. So you've got Swansea.
I'm going to go for Stoke. I'm going to go for West Brom. I think Stoke will just scrape through. I'm going to go... I'm fearing Newcastle at the moment, because... It all depends on how quick this takeover gets done, because if they can get it done quickly and they can have a good window, then they might have a chance. But if Mike Ashley makes this drag on, I just can't see any way back, even with Rafa in charge, because they lack a cutting edge up front. And I think that's what cost them.
They're still playing with the same squad that got them up. And
we
can say from our own experiences that, the 2 times that we went up and then went straight back down again, because there wasn't investment in the squad. They might be very, very good Championship players, but very, very good Championship players can't cut it for 38 games in the Premier League. They can do it for a while, but ultimately it eventually catches up. Our 2009-10 team, we thought, were amazing. They did really well, but the wheels eventually fell off.
So I'm gonna weigh my cards on the table now. West Brom, and I'm sorry to upset the true Geordie if he's somehow watching. But you're going to have a very tough second half of the season. It all depends on what Mark Ashley does, selling the club and all that.
To be fair, he'd probably agree with you.
Yeah.
He'd just say it in a slightly less polite way.
Yeah, but I think Newcastle will go down. But I now believe that Huddersfield will do enough to stay up, because I think they've got a good squad. David Wagner's getting the best out of them. And you could say the same with Brighton and Chris Hughton. If they can use the John Smiths and the Amex as fortresses, and they have done to a certain extent. You look at Huddersfield's results. They beat Manchester United. They gave Manchester City a great examination only 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they've got a lot about them. Yeah, they took a thump in it, but I don't think that Huddersfield will be fine, and I think if Brighton get a few more results, I think they'll be fine too. And Crystal Palace, I think, will shoot up the table. I think they're doing terrifically well under Roy Hodgson. I think David Moyes will do the same at West Ham.
Obviously, Fat Sam's got Everton flying as well. So
Everton were in a false position. Let's make no bones about it. Where they were false. The squad they've got. Yeah. They were in false position. They just needed the right manager.
So you've got Swansea, West Brom, and Newcastle. They're your
just staying up by the skin of their teeth.
Okay, interesting. Right now, for obvious reasons, I'm going to twist. Obviously, I put Burnley bottom. They're obviously not.
I don't know why. I just didn't understand the logic was why you did that.
They're obviously like I said, the worst case scenario was that I was right, which then means I'm right. Best scenario would be I'm surprised, and I'm very surprised. Obviously, we're 7th. We're not, unless we have the most apocalyptic blow up of form and something goes horrendously wrong. Touch wood, it won't. We'll be. We should be safe by the end of January. Fingers crossed. We're 8 points away from 40. So I'm obviously gonna take them out of the bottom three. The others that I believe I had Newcastle already, which is what you suggested, and I also had Huddersfield, as you can see there, the bottom three that I had. I'll be honest, it's really tough to say who's gonna go down. I mean, I'll stick with Newcastle in the bottom three simply because I think Mike Ashley will find some way of cocking up the takeover to the point where he'll delay it so they can't invest anything in January, so they won't be able to do anything. I mean, I just get the feeling that Mike Ashley would be that much of a scumbag where he would leave it so that his mark is still left on the team for the rest of the season, despite the fact that he'd no longer be the owner. I just feel like he's the kind of scumbag that do that. But so I'd stick with Newcastle. Unfortunately, I quite like Newcastle as a club. I think they're quite
they're a great team. They're a great club, and got great fans. But it's sad, really.
The other teams that I'm going to say to go down. I mean, it's really hard to select a third one. But the second one that I'm going to select might be a bit strange, might be unexpected, but they haven't really been in the bottom three this season so far. But they're sort of slowly sliding towards it, and it's going to be Bournemouth.
Yeah, we mentioned them, have we?
I have a bit of a soft spot for them simply because of Eddie Howe, and there's a few former Clarets in that side, Junior Stanislas. And Danny Pugh, I think is Mark Pugh. Sorry, was a Claret as well.
Yes, he was
a long time ago. There's a few of them in there. I just get the sense that they're not really doing anything to make me sit there and go, they're going to climb away from safety. I just get the feeling they're going to be there or thereabouts all season, and I just get the sense that it's going to be one of those fine margins, a bit like Hull at the back end of last season. There's going to be a game which swings away from them, and it's going to massively destroy their morale, and it's going to be very difficult to climb out of. And I just get that horrible sense about them.
Yes,
to do that. So I'm going to put them in there, and I've got to say, it's really hard for me to pick. I mean, between West Brom and Stoke, obviously based on current form. I mean, by the time this gets published, Stoke may well have lost their next match. Mark Hughes been sacked. They might have hired somebody different, and they could be an entirely different.
I mean, they could conceivably hire Pulis for a third time.
Well, why not?
Let's talk about that.
He's the perfect man for that kind of position, is he not?
And if they do, that's why I think I've chosen West Brom over Stoke, because
you get the feeling that'll happen.
If they did sack Pulis, I honestly think they'll re-sign Pulis because of his friendship with the chairman.
Yeah,
but and he's still well liked in Stoke. So,
I mean, I do agree with what you're saying there, and I think that would make a lot of sense. West Brom, I just get that sense that perhaps, because I know Alan Pardew's in charge, and obviously this is at Christmas, so January is obviously going to change things, and we may get the opportunity around the back end of January to just reassess, because as I say, this is the Christmas one. We could change things when it comes around again, but this is all very dependent on what happens in January. But based on current form, I mean, on the basis of being different to you, John, I think I'm going to put Stoke in there. Because I just get that sense. Alan Pardew always has those, their first season and a half. I mean, I know it hasn't quite clicked just yet, but obviously the window's coming round, and that could change. And I just get the feeling that he'll uplift them for a bit, they'll get away, they'll get safety, and then the following season it will start going wrong again and he'll get sacked, which is what happens everywhere for him. So I'm going to say my bottom three is going to be Swansea, as I said, because they are where they are right now. West Brom and Newcastle. Not West Brom, Stoke. It's been a long day.
Yes, it has.
Stoke, Swansea, Newcastle, because, like I said, I think Mike Ashley is the kind of scummy person who would screw it up just enough.
I mean, even if he sold it after the window, his fingerprints will still be all over that team.
Yeah, and he fully well knows that the Geordies hate him, and I'm sure his last gesture to them would be 2 fingers going, haha, enjoy your season in the Championship because I messed up the takeover. That kind of thing. I get the feeling he'd be the kind of bitter such and such to do that sort of thing. So that's why I'm saying Newcastle. Rafa Benitez, I don't know what he would do if they got relegated. Based on what happens with the takeover, we would see, but they've still got a good Championship squad there, and obviously they won the Championship when they were in it last time, so they'll be in a good position to come back up. Swansea, I mean, they're just a mess, aren't they? They're
top to bottom.
They've fallen a long way since that League Cup victory back under Michael Laudrup. They really have. Since
these Americans have taken over, it's just been one disaster after another.
Yeah, it has.
I think they've gone through like 5 managers. If you're taking Alan Curtis, you've had Guidolin, you've had Bradley, you've had Clement, and now Liam Britton's going to take charge for the next match tomorrow.
As a player, caretaker manager, it's quite incredible, that one. Although he's a bit of a club legend there, so could work out like Gary Monk did, because Gary Monk was player manager, wasn't he, when he first started?
Yeah,
that worked out quite well for a while, and then they stupidly sacked him for no real decent reason. And then obviously with Stoke, I just get the sense that I agree that they could do it, but I get that horrible suspicion that they wouldn't want to hire Pulis for a 3rd time because it would make them look a bit stupid for getting rid of him in the first place. It's all right bringing him back once, but to bring him back a 2nd time, that would kind of be like,
but I don't think people would mind that because
Stoke fans wanted him gone because they wanted the different style of football, and they've got the different style of football now, and now they're in the bottom. They're in the bottom 4.
Listen. The reason why I say they should hire Pulis back because there's a lot of Stoke fans.
I know he's the perfect man for this kind of situation.
Because listen, everyone's saying that they should get Pulis back on TalkSport, Radio 5. They've all said it. Pulis is the man to get us out of this mess.
It's a perfect case of be careful what you wish for when they wanted to get rid of Pulis the 2nd time.
Let's just. I mean, he's a man that's got them 11th, 12th, 10th places before Mark Hughes. Got him to an FA Cup final. Actually thrashing Bolton 5-0, playing some of the best football I've ever seen from a Stoke side.
Yeah.
So he's not just a one-dimensional manager. It's public perception that he is, but he gets results however hard he gets them, and you can't become a bad manager overnight. So if I was Peter Coates, get on the blower to him. If you're going to sack Mark Hughes, get on the blower to Pulis, get him in the next day. Don't just break the bank to get him, because that's going to be the difference between them staying up, and he'll work a miracle in the transfer market. He'll know what he'll need, so because he knows that club from top to bottom. Yeah. That's why I've got West Brom down to finish in the bottom 3 rather than Stoke. Now I know you've gone the other way, and I can understand the reasons for why, but I think what I will say.
To be fair to West Brom, they were probably sick of bouncing between the divisions, but it's another one of like, well, what would you rather do? Would you rather bounce between them, or would you rather have an extended stay in one, then an extended stay in the other, and then go back? What would you prefer?
But what I will guarantee from now to the end of the season, I think that relegation scrap's going to be hair and scare, and there's probably about 5 or 6 different teams that are going to be.
Well, like I said, anyone up to 11th, where Huddersfield are I
honestly think Huddersfield
easily be relegated.
I think it's from 14th downwards. That's my opinion. I think Huddersfield will be okay. I think Brighton will be okay. Bournemouth, as you say, should be looking over their shoulders because they took an almighty battering the other night at home to Liverpool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of these sides are going to have big Christmas and New Year periods because if they don't get the right players in all these teams, I mean, they're gonna find it tough, and I feel for people like Swansea and West Brom, who have been established in the Premier League for some years, and it's a shame to see Swansea right at the bottom because they had, I admire their attacking philosophies a few years ago. They played some really good stuff under Brendan Rodgers. They played some terrific stuff under Laudrup. As you said, they won the League Cup. Mind you, they played a Bradford team. They played a third-tier Bradford team.
Yeah, but that Bradford team was killing giants left, right, and centre.
Yeah, but they were killing them at Valley Parade. They weren't killing them anywhere else. That was the thing.
Yeah, but I could say the same about Burnley when they had their League Cup run. We were killing teams at Turf Moor.
Yeah, but they were probability.
Apart from Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, well, we were all out up that night, but it was that was up until this season, it's probably the best bloody time being a Burnley fan. That wasn't it? No, I think it's going to be hair and scare. I think for Burnley though, I think if I mean Europe.
Well, yeah, we need to touch on the top 6 now because we've actually got to talk about it.
Yes, we've got a chance, but in reality, top 10 would be an unbelievable season for us, and I think we're capable of finishing top 10. If because I think Europe may be beyond us, maybe because of the squad, but we need to obviously invest more. Because the board are going to probably know now, once January comes, we're going to be. I think we'll be on about 36 points by the time January comes round again. So we only need another 4 to stay in the division at that point. I think the board should back that with a bit more money. Get a replacement for Brady because that's a big blow to us.
Even if it's a loanee, you just need that extra body.
Yeah, good as Arfield's been since he's come in, he's not the long-term solution for Burnley's problem. But I think we need I don't think we need a strikers. I think we're good on that particular front. The midfield, I don't think we should change too much.
There's a lot of talk of Nader Manuaha from Queen's Park Rangers joining us because he's only got 6 months left on his contract and there's an extra body in the centre back position.
Yeah,
considering the suspension and injury issues we've been having recently,
I think he's a bad. I don't think he's a bad defender. He's got bags of Premier League experience as well, and he's played at the top level. So I don't have a bat, and we need the experience. Goalkeeper, I think we're fine. Nick Pope's had a marvellous season. There's not too much I would like to see change, to be honest with you. Just a couple of extra boards, quality boards that have got Premier League experience and fits into the Sean Dyche ethos. As you say, the signings have to be well thought out. It's got to fit in with Sean Dyche's ethos. But I wouldn't be too surprised if we actually finish top 10. I think anywhere between 7th and 10th, I'd be overjoyed. Maybe if we can look at Manchester City in the FA Cup on a cup run, one's touching one very much down, then that would be the icing on the cherry on the cake. Really, I don't expect us to win the cup that way, but I'd like us to go on and maybe get lucky, get to a semi-final. But as I say, but to finish top 10, I mean that would be an unbelievable achievement, considering the size of club we are, the town we're from, and how big the town is, or how small the town is. I think to finish in the top 10 would be unbelievable. So anywhere between 7th and 10th would not be beyond the realms of possibility for us.
Yeah. So top 6. Obviously, we're both twisting on our selections because neither of us had Man City top. So who do we think then? Because obviously 6 doesn't go into 4th of the Champions League.
No.
I mean, is Burnley gonna be top 6 in either of our selections? Well, you've just said you reckon between 7th and 10th. I'm going to have to agree on that. I reckon, realistically, I think the way we're playing, I think 7th is a distinct possibility. Obviously, Everton might catch us based on how well they're doing, and 7th place is their place. But in terms of, obviously, first we'll have Man City. Second, I think that's probably United's.
I think it's got to be Manchester United.
Because it's good progression for them. Whether they'll win a trophy is...
They've only got 2 trophies left realistically to win now. They've got the FA Cup and the European Cup to go for. I just think they might come up short in Europe. But the FA Cup could be a possibility for them, and I think they should have a really good think about winning that trophy, the FA Cup. But the Holy Grail is the European Cup. But there's so many good teams left in that competition now. There's 5 English teams, plus Barcelona, Bayern Munich, PSG. I think PSG are the team to beat in that competition.
So United, we'll have United as
based
second.
On.
But the Champions
League third.
The Champions League mental. Chelsea third. Yeah, I'd probably say that's fair because I think Liverpool, the rest of the team. I mean, say the rest of the teams. I mean, Arsenal, Liverpool have leaky defences, and Spurs are just too inconsistent.
I think do you know what? On the basis of inconsistency, I think all three teams are very inconsistent, especially Liverpool. I
think the consistency about Liverpool is they score loads of goals and concede loads of goals. That's the
the thing is, they draw a lot of games, and this might cost them the top. I'd like to see them get top four because they're a great club, and I've got a lot of respect for them. But I've got a feeling, I've got a sneaky suspicion. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go. I'm actually considering that all three of them are so inconsistent. I think out of the three of them, I think Liverpool are the best equipped to go into the Champions League. I think Arsenal will miss out again.
Yeah.
And I definitely think Spurs as well. And I think the Wembley factor's probably played a part, but it's not I think it's not Wembley that's been giving them the trouble recently. It's been the away form. I mean, they got battered and bruised at Manchester City last week, and quite rightly so. City absolutely outplayed them from first whistle to last. And that will. I mean, they're going to have to come to Golson tomorrow at Turf 4 to get a result. Okay, on paper they should win the game, realistically.
Well, they won 2-0 there last time, didn't they? So it depends which team turns up, really.
But when's football matches been won on sheets of paper? Never.
Exactly.
So,
but I do agree. I think I honestly I didn't have Arsenal. If I bring up the thing again, I don't think either of us had Arsenal for top four. No, you had them as sixth. I had them as fifth. You actually put Spurs in the top four.
Yes, I'm taking them out in favour of Liverpool now.
Yeah, so you're switching. Basically, so City above United, Chelsea stay where they are, and Spurs above, and Spurs drop below Liverpool. So you haven't really shuffled around too much. Mine is, well, other than United, everyone. Although I think Arsenal and Spurs. It would be difficult to decide who finishes above Arsenal and Spurs in that one. That will be an interesting battle in itself, but that will be both for Europa League places. So, I mean, seventh could be enough for a Europa League place should a top four team win the FA Cup, because then they give that out, or the League Cup. If two top four teams win the FA Cup or the League Cup, I think that then makes seventh a Europa League spot. So that could be enough for whoever finishes seventh, which for Burnley is a distinct possibility.
But obviously Bristol City might have something to say about that.
Well, maybe they will, but we'll see. It's the fact that Bristol City could inadvertently deny us a European place. Come on, don't put it in that vein of light. But
but they're in with a chance. I know they've drawn Manchester City, but Guardiola is probably going to take the Champions League in the Premier League a lot more seriously than the League Cup, isn't he? So he's not going to. He's not going to get carried away.
Putting out have been doing okay. I mean, Claudio Bravo has been something of a revelation in the League Cup.
Yeah,
saving penalties left, right, and centre.
Yeah, they've been lucky though. I've got to say they've been very lucky on the last two rounds, maybe 3 rounds, because they were lucky to beat West Brom, if I'm being honest. So, I think Bristol City will work them very much, and I tell you what, if they can get to that second leg at Ashton Gate with a positive result at the Etihad,
which is just 1 goal difference, I think.
I think they could do it. I really do, because they won't. I mean, as Manchester United found out, they put out the big guns. They put out Zlatan, Pogba, Rashford, Martial, the whole lot, and they came a cropper. Yeah. So they couldn't
live with the work rate. So yeah, that would be horrendous and amazing all at the same time. If you could imagine Bristol City win the League Cup, and then like a few months later, if Bristol City hadn't won the damn league, it would be sod's law. That's going to happen. I'm telling you, we'll finish 7th. Bristol City will win the League Cup, and we'll be denied the European place because of a miracle in the League Cup. That would be the Burnley way of missing out on European football. It really would. But yeah, I mean, I think we could finish 7th. I don't want to be overly optimistic. I mean, to be fair, I think Everton will probably. I think Everton will probably catch us, if I'm honest. 8th. I'm sitting there feeling like I'm disappointed to put us 8th, for goodness sake. That's how the season's gone. I'm kind of sat there like, we could genuinely do it. This is from the pessimistic guy at the start of the season who was sitting there going, yeah, we'll finish bottom. I really don't know. I really don't know where Burnley will finish.
Anywhere between 7th and 10th, I'd be absolutely over the moon with, because
if you'd have told us that at the start of the season, we would have all taken it. So,
you just got to listen. If we finish top 10, that is massive progression from where we finished last year. We finished 16th. That's 6 extra places we've jumped in a year, and I think that's magnificent. That would be magnificent progress for a club of our size.
Yeah. So
you've got to look at it from the bigger picture. Yes, there's all talk about Europe and the possibility of a pub being named Sean Dyche and all that stuff, but in reality, to finish top 10 would be an unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, it would be, and it would be something else for Burnley fans to experience. Because, let's face it. I'll round this off to put things into perspective. I suppose. You'll have a better perspective than I, because you're a little bit older than me. Not much.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of lucky in the sense. It's the same with this the YouTuber guy Vizzy. Or Liam as he's called, I think is his un-YouTube name, as it's called. But we're kind of lucky in the sense that I've kind of witnessed. I've witnessed Burnley from 2000 basically, and beyond that. And to be fair, that's probably one of the better periods to witness them, because I didn't see anything lower than Championship football. I've seen us play against the big teams before we even got to the Premier League. We've been sort of from 2010 to now, we've sort of been as good as it can get, apart from the brief period of Brian Laws. It's been really good to watch, and we're hitting highs now that we haven't hit, as you mentioned, since 1975, which is unheard of.
Is that so long ago? Standards wasn't put in.
You witnessed us at the very flipping bottom, I imagine.
I remember the '87 very well. I was a youngster at the time, but it was a big game in those days. And I remember Burnley being in the old Division 4. That's how long it has been.
And the long side and all that.
Yeah, and I remember going to League Cup games against Spurs and Liverpool in the early '90s, and just seeing the BO end and the BO end and the long side packed to the rafters, and the atmosphere you had in those days was just unbelievable.
But it was all the way down in Division 4 and Division 3, and it's just like,
yeah, but
where we've come from. You've got. My dad talks about it a lot. He's sat there like, considering where we've come from, we was that close to being obliterated in the Orient game.
Let's look at it this way. If we'd have not won against Orient, we would not have a football club to this very day.
Ironically, Leyton Orient are in the position that we would have been in had we lost that game now.
Yeah, and that's through their own fault. It's mismanagement. The Italian owners have totally mismanaged the club, and they're struggling in the National League, and I've got no pity for them. I've got no pity for the owners. I've got a lot of sympathy
for the fans.
For the fans, because they support their club through thick and thin.
Well, they were knocking on the door of the Premier League when they took over, and look,
Yeah, in the Championship they were like masses of points clear, and it all blew up on them, and it's just been a downward spiral, sadly. But no, we were one game from being a football club no more, and it would have been an absolute travesty. Fortunately, it didn't turn out that way. Lincoln went down at our expense, and on the same day, and we fought. It's taken us a good 30 years, but it's been an unbelievable journey. Look at the managers we've had. Jimmy Mullins done well. Stan Turner did well. Owen Cole before playing the Judas Act. Eddie Howe holding the foundations for what Sean Dyche has today.
Yeah.
You look at all these people, and they've done it on, and they've not done it on big budgets. They've done it on mega budgets. I remember when Stan Turner.
The club, facility-wise and everything, has taken the next step as well, as we've seen with the new training ground.
the training ground looks exceptional. I've seen behind the scenes footage on the Clarets player, and it's up there with the best training grounds in this country.
And then there's going to be the new developments for Turf Moor about the disabled accessing, which.
I should also stress that this is a Premier League requirement because.
Well, yeah, but it still needed to be done. I mean,
it needed to be done, but it's a Premier League ruling and it's a Premier League requirement, and I think that's right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that disabled supporters don't get a fair deal these days.
They don't. They sit out in the open, in the cold, in the rain. It was about time they did something, and I'm glad that the rule has actually made them do it. Because I think if you weren't being made to do it, I just think nobody would get around to it, and it's something that needs to be done. But if that's going to change how the ground looks, I mean, it's going to be in for a major facelift in that sense, because obviously where the screen is where one of them is going to go, and the other one's going to go where the ground control is. So it'll be interesting to see how they design that. So, but it's we're sitting here. We mentioned the Orient game, and then we're sitting here knocking on the doors of European competitions. It's mental. It's just to think, where the club has been. It's just mad. So I'm quite lucky in the sense that I've only really witnessed the good times. I didn't witness firsthand the horrendous. I mean, what was it? What was the year that we won the 4th division? Was it 94?
1992. We won 92. Then we won promotion in 94. Went back down a year later, and then
went back up again.
Then went back up. We almost survived relegation in 98. We had Waddle. We played a celebrity card with Chris Waddle, and nearly took us back down to the bottom division.
Yeah, well, he bought Andy Payton, so we'll let him slide with that one.
Yeah, but then Stein came in, steadied the ship, kept us up another year, and then built a team in the mould of his own, in his old team at Berrien. And I honestly think the success of today was built on the foundations that was set by Stan Ternent. I really do. The only regret I have really is not seeing Stan Ternent actually have a go at managing in the Premier League, because I would have liked to have seen how he would have got on. If we had those two great finishes when we got back into the Championship around the turn of the millennium. I just honestly think if we'd have just gone in, if we'd had a bit more luck and gone in the playoffs, I think we'd have won the playoffs. Okay, it might have lasted one season, but to have Stan would have achieved his ambition to manage in the top flight of football
if Paul Gascoigne had scored that free kick.
Yes,
see, there's something that's like not many people probably think. It's just Paul Gascoigne used to play for us. I know it was only briefly, but. I mean, you saw him in the flesh.
To see him in the flesh was one of the greatest feels. It ended in disappointment for us as a team and as a supporter, but to actually watch Paul Gascoigne, a legend of the game.
And we had Ian Wright as well.
Yes, I've seen Ian Wright in the flesh as well. I've seen them both, and I have to say that it's a pleasure to watch people like them play, and they had undoubted quality on their day. They were unplayable, certainly at their peak, right with Arsenal. Gazza with Tottenham before he got his silly knee injury in the cup final of '91. But yeah,
just imagine those players at their peak and then put them in our current side. God, could you imagine Paul Gascoigne and Stephen Defoe holding down the midfield together? Oh,
I'll tell you what, we would have some fun, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Ian Wright blistering alongside Chris Wood. Oh, goodness me.
He'd be on those knockdowns quicker than you could blink.
He would.
He really would. We should get him off. We should sign him up. Right, I know you're 50 years old, mate, but can you come and do a job for us?
The things that we've witnessed. I mean, the season's not over. It sounds like we're talking about how amazing things are. I mean, it's still awesome to be sat in 6th. Where we will be at the end of the season. Hopefully, it'll be top half of the table. They've done really well this season. They've done us proud is the best way to put it.
Well, the objective was to avoid relegation. If we do that, then we can just kick on. Then so, but we've got a chance against Man City in the cup. I mean, I think it's a fair bet that he won't put out a big. He won't put out his best squad for that game. Guardiola, I really don't. I think we've got if Dyche's got any wits about him, he'll put out a decent squad for that game with the opportunity of sneaking a 1-0 or a replay back to Turf Moor. Because I'll tell you something,
they won't want a replay added to their schedule.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if worst case scenario, best case scenario, if we get a replay, we'll beat them back at Turf Moor because they won't fancy it. They will not fancy a trip to Turf Moor on a cold Wednesday night. I can guarantee you that now. No.
They are only from Manchester. It's not too much different from.
But they play in Manchester. They don't play with moors. You don't play with big bloody hills around them, do they? I mean, this is what makes Burnley unique. We're on a hillside. You look at you look at it from the top of the Hargreaves stand, right? And all you can see about the back of the Bob Law stand are hills and hills and hills, inspired by the Bronte sisters.
Right.
Well, with the window, they will not like it on a cold winter's night at Turf Moor when the rain's lashing down, the snow's lashing down, the sleet's lashing down. That is the one distinct advantage we've got.
Well, I don't think that would make too much of a difference for a team that's coming from Manchester, but well, you never know. It's the FA Cup. There's always a bit of magic in the FA Cup, but as we felt to our detriment last year, but we'll just ignore that bit. Anyway. I think that more or less covers it. I mean, we've changed our predictions. We're both going to predict here, change our genius prediction. We're both predicting that Manchester City are going to win the league. I don't think you need to be a genius to work that out.
It's not rocket science, is it, lads? You know what I mean?
If they completely mess it up, then they don't deserve to win the league. It's as simple as that. If they mess it up from this point,
and we end up with egg on our faces.
Yeah. It would be. It would be incredible if they somehow managed to mess it up. But yeah, I think that more or less covers it. So it's been nice to be back on LTF. I don't know when it will be back next.
I'll tell you how it's felt tonight. It's like being off a bicycle for so many years and then learning to actually get back on it and ride it again. That's how it's felt, and it's felt great. It's felt fantastic, and I've really enjoyed my 2-hour stint being back in the chair. Just a quick promo for everybody that might be watching. YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, 4 live Burnley commentaries over the Christmas period. Tottenham tomorrow, then Manchester United on Boxing Day, Huddersfield on the 28th, and Liverpool on New Year's Day. All 4 will be covered live on the YouTube channel, full match commentary, and then the FA Cup will kick in on the 6th and the 7th, and again I will cover 2 of the more outstanding games, possibly Burnley, Manchester City on the Saturday. So stay tuned for that. And and I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas as well. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm off to my brother's girlfriend's on on Christmas Day, so plenty of booze being consumed from me, and plenty of turkey and trifle will be going down my throat. What are you doing for Christmas, by the way?
Spending it with the family, I suppose. At Panto season in the new year, so I'll be going to the old pantomime to go watch. Yes. I don't even know what I'm watching. It's just the family thing we do. It's nothing too major this year. It's a quiet year this year, so just enjoying it with the family. Going to me auntie's for Christmas dinner in the evening. We'll probably have one of our mental just dance competitions again. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing for Christmas. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good to be back on LTF. I know, as I mentioned at the very start of this, it's not really a program. It's more of a podcast. This one, because it's going to be so long. But I just wanted to do it in one take because it's Christmas.
Yeah, we need
to relax.
It's a Christmas special. It's a Christmas special, lads and viewers, and we've been babbling on for so long, but it's well worth watching the 2 hours. Honestly,
yeah,
it's worth.
It's like I said, the college commitment that I've had the last 10, 12 weeks so far. It's gotten in the way. Life gets in the way, Really,
life will always get in the way. I mean, my job gets in the way sometimes, the LTF and things like that. Plus, I've had other things to do, like sell the perfume for my friend Karen, and know.
But ultimately, this is just a hobby. We don't get paid for this, but
we just do it out of our own free will.
Yeah,
and
so,
we love bringing it to you, folks.
And obviously, it being Christmas, I've been working extra hours. I'm sure John has been quite literally snowed under in Burnley. So it's been busy. If it returns in a regular weekly format, obviously you'll hear it here first.
Okay.
I'll put out a video or an update or something, basically telling people it's back. But for the foreseeable future, obviously, I do intend to at least do one, obviously, after the January window closes, because, we could then properly make, our final nailed-on predictions. Obviously, Man City, as we've just said, are probably going to win the league. But the January window could change everything for the rest, So we will have one at least for there to discuss the January deadline and everything. So that'll be when the next one is. But if it's going to return regularly, obviously that depends on how my college goes and how work goes and everything like that. So that is the future of LTF right now. That more or less rounds it off. It's been a fun couple of hours, or however long we've been here. If you've sat and watched us for the solid, the whole video, thank you very much for sticking with us. I'm surprised. They're probably asleep, if I'm honest. You can wake up now. You can go.
It's all over now. The ordeal is over, folks.
It's fine. But if you've joined us, even if you've only watched bits of it and you've skimmed through for the bits that you're looking for, thank you for joining us anyway. As John has said, have a very Merry Christmas. We will see you in the new year, as I said, at least in January for the deadline of the window.
And just a quick thing. Enjoy your Christmas, but enjoy it safely, enjoy it nicely. Don't drink and drive, folks, because it's not cool to do so. But have a wonderful Christmas. Peace on earth to goodwill and all men and all footballers. We'll see you in the new year, and have a very happy 2018. It's been a great year for everybody. Let's hope 2018 is just as lucky for us all as it has been this year.
Yes, well, if 2017 is anything to go by as a Burnley fan, 2018 should be really, really fun. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you can join us for the next video, whenever that may be. And from myself and John, thank you for joining me, John, as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's been an unbelievable 2 hours, and it's been good. It's been good to really catch up again. And
it's been good to be back.
Yes, it's been great.
But, thank you very much for joining us. Have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year. Cheerio.
Merry Christmas. Bye.